Hello and welcome to my July 11th update for my GTNH playthrough. I am starting off in what I call my oil processing factory, just to kind of be able to give you a visual comparison of just a couple of the random things I did today. So the main things I did overall were more prepping for nuclear, like setting up recipes and stuff, and I'll show more of that here in a second. The other, and as part of that, I needed to update the way I made iTNT and use my implosion compressor. So just kind of for reference, when I first started using, or my power journey so far has been from steam to diesel through that whole line. Like I jumped directly from steam to diesel. I didn't use light or heavy. I just immediately went from steam, set all this stuff up, and then originally my fuel would pump out from this mixer into everywhere I had pipe running, mostly long distance pipes at the time. Then eventually I added a little processing line over here for nitric acid and a little thing over here to make drawing a blank on what it's called. I don't have any in the system right now, but basically the thing you mix with nitric acid and then mix with diesel to get the C18 boosted diesel. So that's what this whole little section was. And then as a result of all that being over here, I also would use that to mix I'm trying to think. I forget exactly how it works now because it's been a while since I've needed to use the TNT. Basically, to get to space the first time, you need a buttload of TNT in the implosion compressor. And so over here, I also refined some raw oil and then did a little line to toluene, which you can see right here. And then I would just throw sugar beets in here and manually throw in some polyethylene, and out pops my iTNT. And then somewhere under here it recycles the diluted sulfuric acid back over to this distillery and gets me going again. But so what I did today though, because one of the or a couple of the recipes I needed for setting up new components was a heat vent, I believe, of some sort. I think the heat vent's where I needed it. Let me check. Not really too big of a deal. Oh yeah, so it was the advanced heat vent. Then I think one of the other items also needed these industrial diamonds, and specifically industrial. The best way to do that is in the implosion compressor, and to use the implosion compressor you need TNT. So over here, since this was just my old way of making nitric acid, and down in my chemical building down there I have nitric acid being made in LCRs. I was like, I don't, even when I start using more iTNT, unless I'm misunderstanding and things go crazy, I don't need it to be super fast, as long as I get like a backlog of nitric acid and ultimately the nitration mixture to mix with the toluene and sugar and all that jazz to get TNT. As long as I have a backlog here, I think I'll be fine for the good foreseeable future. So basically I just disconnected these lines and all the stuff I had going on here. So I had nitric acid, threw it on a P2P, and then it's set up over there. That's where it's gonna, I'll show you here in a minute. It's where it's set up. This all this stuff is basically inactive now. There's nothing it does over here. I'll probably dump this toluene into, if I get desperate for a super tank, I can just remember I have this one sitting here being useless now. But yeah, so that's the setup. And with that, I guess it's kind of just for funny. So I used to be real paranoid about pollution because pre the nano suit, you'd always be catching hazmat effects. So over here is where I had my implosion compressor, just because when you run it for a few seconds, you get a ton of pollution. So I moved that out of here. So this was where I basically did MV. But anyways, now what I did instead is I set up a couple LCRs, because again, this wood tar we're getting as a byproduct for this passive line I got running in this distillation tower, And then toluene's one of the byproducts already, so I don't need any sort of processing line to get that. And then I've got this double LCR set up, so basically the toluene comes into here. I have this guy importing sugar beets into an extractor, and then I just decided to make my life easier, put 2 input buses, one for sugar and just always have it running, because currently that's the only thing I use sugar beet for, so it doesn't really matter if it's just forever outputs that. And then the way I call the recipe, or the way this recipe is written, is I have it put polyethylene dust into here, and then that triggers out my TNT. So specifically this LCR makes the what is it called, TNT, makes the gelled toluene. And so there's an output bus right here faced towards an input bus, so it makes the gelled toluene, comes into here. That nitration mixture that I was showing I have on the PDP out there inputs into here. Then this LCR makes the iTNT. Then this guy is obviously my implosion compressor. I set up a little thing up here, so again, I just have the recipe. I decided to go with using diamond dust to get as the basis for it, and the way I'm getting diamond dust. So I just using the flawed diamonds I get as a result of my extreme entity crusher that I have for the blood magic ritual going. I do not, however, know why there is industrial diamonds into here. That is interesting. I don't know why they got sent over there. I might have to throw a filter on this now that I think about it. Because I bet it's after I crafted it, went into the interface, and then before the AE network could pull it in, it pulled itself out to this input bus. That's unfortunate, because I was hoping that doing it this way would just work, where I have a separate output and a separate input. But the other thing I have going on up here, basically just to try to get in the habit of recycling my tiny dust, my 2 different piles of ashes that can pop up from this, they're just going to void out eventually when it gets too full. And then I set up a voltage regulator, currently the only ones that come out of here if I'm making anything stainless steel, but potentially I believe the next one that'll likely have tiny dust coming out here is tungsten steel, and then it just goes into a packager, and out of the packager back into the network as well. So that was cool to get this all set up. This little LCR thing was fun. This is my first combo one that's actually using one internal item to another. I know you can do a lot with these, and just trying to get better with them and using them more effectively. There's nothing new built over here, though I'm glad I didn't start the terraforming I was talking about the other day, because I was reading the quest book and I figured out that I should, in theory, oh no, never mind. I'm still a long way away. Never mind. I was like, I know I saw a quest where, this is Ender Query is made inside something. I don't know. It mentioned being a block that you're able to craft, use to craft the Ender Query, but I hadn't actually clicked on it yet. No, a long way away from there. Never mind that little side tangent. So over in this base, there's nothing really not much change over here. I just still have titanium and stuff processing. And titanium, stainless, and now tannum apparently is the main one going, which is kind of cool. And there's a ton of fog. I was just been double checking, because from what I understand, if it goes over 2 million of pollution, it'll start poison rain, but not quite there. So for the nuclear stuff, what I got got going today, see, I got these quests claimed. I got the main reactor done. I got the 6 extra chambers all good. And then I got all these are in with the ability for me to craft now, which because I still haven't messed with AE fluids and how to work those yet, required me to set up a bunch of extra assemblers, where I basically pull an ingot in, turn it into molten form and then eject it into the assembler for the recipe. So I've got 4 of these going. So I'll have a bunch of extra assemblers once I ever figure out how to do fluids in AE. And I did have to upgrade this guy over here to an EV1. And the last thing I did before I stopped playing, had a card tournament earlier that I went to that didn't fire because it's raining like crazy here, is I got also set up in here the ability to make EV energy hatches, which I have 3 because I want to set up another Extreme Entity Crusher with Enderman as my next one, so I can get Ender Pearls on passive. And then, if ideally, I would like to make one more right after that for, what are they called? Gas. So I can get like gas tiers and stuff, because I accidentally broke my gas. I had a gas point, IC2 cropped, and I accidentally broke it, which was very sad. But I got these 2 EV energy hatches, so that over here, got these, we got the battery buffers, and then we got the Lapitron crystals, which actually, it's not gonna let me pull them out as a stack even though they're empty, but I've crafted a bunch of these. Most of these are going to be for next to the nuclear reactor whenever we set it up, but I've got some more crafting. I wonder if it's jammed up somewhere. I'm just gonna cancel this. I don't know what's up with that right now. I'll figure that out later. And so we got 18, 16 by the nuke, so it actually jammed up pretty fast. Or wanted 8 more of these. It says we have everything, so I don't know what jammed up there, but seems to be working now. Anyways, so I got the Lapitron crystals. So all this to say, so I did check in a single player world because I wasn't sure if you could overclock an LCR. You can. So I'm going to, at least for a little bit, overclock this LCR that's currently just offline altogether because I put my EV hatch back on my Extreme Entity Crusher. I'll overclock this guy, be able to process my tons and tons of tungsten steel, and then I don't think I'll leave it running very long because I don't actually care about that much tungsten steel right now. I mainly just want it so I can make more EV energy hatches and set up more Extreme Entity Crushers, because my whole goal right now is to get a lot of passives going while I also set up the nuclear power and stuff. Like, I want to be able to get a thorium bee so I don't have to mess around with that. I don't know. Bees are just crazy. They're overpowered. Well, it's great to have all these passive resources going. But so I think tomorrow morning, first thing, I feel like I'm probably just going to chill out for the rest of the night. I'm going to set up that. I'll shut down the server for the night because there's no reason for it to be running right now. Set up the overclock, run that for a bit, get a bunch of tungsten steel, and then set up my next immediate goal, because I believe I'm basically, like I said, I had all the vents and stuff set up in there. I should be able to just screw around with the nuclear reactor, play around in the single player world, see how it works for a little bit, and then see if I can get that set up as my only real goal for tomorrow. And then once that's set up and I have the AE network itself powered off of nuclear, and I don't have to worry about if the fuel drains down, everything shutting down, because that sucks, I'll get the other extreme entities set up, and then I'll start looking at actually progressing onwards and making epoxid and cheaper circuits and stuff. But appreciate you guys are listening. Hope everybody has a good night. Bye.